We celebrate our army, we make movies about the soldiers, we trend their names on Republic Day, and we should. But I want to ask you something today. Who kept those soldiers alive? Who held the ivy lines when there were bombs falling outside? Who maintained the ICUs at Kargil at minus 40 degrees? And who walked into the COVID wards in 2021 when the rest of the country was walking away from them? There is an entire corps of commissioned officers, the only all-women corps, the all-officers corps, that has served every single war that India has ever fought. World War I, World War II, 1947, 62, 65, 71, Kargil, COVID, every single one of them. And until 2026, just few months back, the government was telling them that you are not ex-servicemen, that you do not qualify for veteran benefits. I'm talking about the military nursing service, and today I'm going to tell you everything. Their history, their benefits, the institutional assault on their dignity, and why the fight isn't over yet. Stay with me because we are not at the worst part yet. Picture this. It's 1879, the Anglo-Zulu War. Soldiers, British and Indian, are lying wounded on African soil. And they are dying. Not because their wounds are unsurvivable, but because there is no one trained to take care for them. Sepsis, infection, neglect. That image, that preventable death, is what pushed military to act. By 1888, the first batch of 10 qualified nurses arrived in Bombay to organize nursing in Indian military hospitals. 10 women, an unfamiliar country, and a military organization that had no idea what to do with them. And yet, they built something. By 1893, 52 nurses, officially named the Indian Army Nursing Service. By 1902, restructured and renamed under the Queen's patronage. By 1914, 473 Indian nurses deployed across 3 continents in World War I. Flanders, the Mediterranean, Middle East, on hospital ships under enemy fire. More than 200 army nurses died on active service in World War I. Most of them were Indians. They were not carrying guns. They were carrying something soldiers needed just as badly: the will to survive. 1st October 1926. If you are from an MNS family, you know this date. This is the day nursing services were made a permanent part of the Indian Army, designated as the Indian Military Nursing Service, the IMNS. This date is still celebrated as MNS Code Day. Write that down because everything that follows, every war, every uniform change, every battle of recognition happens to an institution that has now existed permanently for 100 years. World War II came, and with it came the most important moment in MNS history. They were deployed everywhere: Singapore, Burma, Egypt, Western Africa. When Singapore fell to Japan, nurses, including Indians, were captured and put into Far East prisoner of war camps. They were nurses, they were women, and yet they were prisoners of war. And still, they served. And then, on 15th September 1943, through the Indian Military Nursing Service Ordinance, something happened that had never happened before in the history of Indian military. Women were granted commissioned officer status in the Indian Army. Not helpers, not attendants, commissioned officers, appointed by the central government, published in the Gazette of India, subject to the Army Act. 1943, commissioned officers, women. Do you understand the gravity of this? In 1950, after independence, MNS was formally constituted as part of regular army through Army Instructions 274/50. The Defence Service Regulations of 1986 stated it clearly in black and white. Officers in the MNS are army officers and will rank equally with male officers of the same rank. This was law, written, official, permanent. So why 50 years later they were told they do not count? We'll get there, but first let me tell you what all they have actually done for the country. 1947, the first Kashmir War. MNS officers deployed in field hospitals, caring for the first wounded soldiers of an independent India. 1962, the Sino-Indian War. Sub-zero temperatures, frostbitten soldiers, bullet wounds at altitudes where most people can barely breathe. MNS officers were there in forward lines. 1965, the Indo-Pak War. I want you to remember this name, Sister Kamala Devi. An enemy air raid struck a hospital in Punjab. Think about what your instinct is in an air raid. Cover, hide, run, survive, right? Sister Kamala Devi kept working in a hospital under bombing for the soldiers. This isn't courage. This is something which doesn't even have a proper word. 1971, the liberation of Bangladesh, MNS officers in overwhelmed field hospitals across both fronts. Kargil, 1999, Leh, Rajouri, Doda, Kargil itself. MNS officers posted in advanced echelons, not comfortable base hospitals, actual forward areas. COVID-19 2021, when India's second wave hit and the country was in free fall, 295 MNS officers were mobilized for DRDO COVID hospitals across 5 cities: Delhi, Lucknow, Ahmedabad, Varanasi, and Patna. They walked into COVID wards every single day, and then they came home. And then the government told them, "You are not ex-servicemen." Now, I need you to understand this. What happened to MNS was not a bureaucratic confusion. It was not an oversight. It was deliberate, it was sustained, and it was done one administrative letter at a time. The uniform. MNS officer wore olive green, the same color as every other Indian Army officer does. But a letter in 2004 changed that. The uniform was switched to a safari-style beige color, visually different from every commissioned officer around them. In the army, uniform is identity, and changing it to something different is not an aesthetic purpose. It is a simple signal saying you do not belong here, saying you are not quite one of us. The change was challenged in court. The army misrepresented facts before the Supreme Court. The court upheld the notification. The commission certificate. When you are a commissioned officer in the Indian Army, you receive a certificate signed by the President of India. It is the most fundamental document of your officer status. The Army quietly stopped issuing to MNS officers. No explanation, no announcement, just stopped. The pay, the travel entitlements, travel documents meant for commissioned officers, taken away. Replaced with concession vouchers meant for JCOs and Jawans. A commissioned officer given the paperwork of a Jawan for the same train journey. And here's the cruelest part. For disciplinary action, if an MNS officer did something wrong, the Army Act applied fully. This could be court-martial or even dismissal. But for benefits, for status, suddenly the argument was the MNS officer does not come under the definition of officer under the Army Act. Punishable when convenient, not protected when inconvenient. This is not a legal nuance. This is exploitation. So when normal channels failed, and they did fail, MNS officers went to courts repeatedly for years. The biggest fight came after 2019 when the Kendriya Sainik Board issued a letter denying MNS officers ESM status under the central government. Now think about the ESM status in practice. A woman joins military nursing service at 21. She does a short service commission for 10 or 14 years, Kargil, COVID, UN missions in Lebanon and Congo. She comes back at 31 or 35. Now she wants a second career, but she's been out of the civilian job market for a decade or more. With ESM status, she gets age relaxation, job reservation, a real second chance. Without it, she starts from scratch, penalized for having served. Captain Gurpreet Kaur, a retired MNS officer, she cleared Punjab Civil Service exam and her candidacy was rejected on the basis saying that you are not an ex-serviceman. So she fought in Punjab and Haryana Civil Court and she won. It was then challenged in the Supreme Court by another officer who argued Gurpreet's appointment would disturb her own seniority. The Supreme Court, bench of Justice P.S. Narasimha and Justice Manoj Mishra, delivered its verdict. Military nursing service is an integral part of the Indian Army and it cannot be denied the status of ex-servicemen. It was a victory, but at state levels. For 6 years at the central level, nothing. Until 9th February 2026. The Government of India notified the Amendment Rules 2026, explicitly including the military nursing service in the definition of ex-serviceman for central government re-employment. After 6 years, after multiple court hearings and protest, after countless individual women rebuilding their career with one hand tied at their back, it was now written into law. But written is not same as done. Somewhere in India today there is a retired M&S officer. Maybe she's 35 or 62. She held men alive in Kargil's mountains. She worked COVID wards that smelled of death. She spent years far from her family in places most people can't find on a map. She's not asking for a movie. She's not asking for a trending hashtag. All she is asking for an ESM registration to be processed so that she can apply for a job at an age where the civilian employees are already calling her too old. The notification happened, the law changed. This is a real progress. But there is something that still needs to happen, and I need you to remember this. The February 9th Amendment covers central services. Every state government needs to update its own ESM rules. That has not happened yet. Canteen access, healthcare entitlements, Sanic board welfare, each of these needs a separate process. And for M&S veterans who have been out on the system for years, someone needs to actively reach them and help them navigate it. And the deepest fix? Social recognition. You cannot have institutional respect without social respect. And social respect starts with people like you knowing about these women, knowing their history, saying their names. Sister Kamala Devi worked through an air raid in 1965. The military nursing service has served this country since 1888, 138 years. The least this country can do is remember them. Now I have a question for you. Did you know all this before this video? Be honest, drop a comment. I want to know. And if you have a mother, sister or an aunt who has served in the military nursing services, write down their names in the comment. Let's fill the section with the names that deserve to be seen. Share this video now, not later, now, to your friends who post Jai Hind on every Republic Day and Independence Day without knowing the history. They need to know this. And subscribe to my channel if you want the content to go where others don't. Psychology, hidden truths and real history. Jai Hind.